Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Midwest Swamp Watch. We have an update. Hi, I'm Rick Weibel, and we also have Susan Smith with me on the phone. I'm recording in studio in South Dakota, and Susan is back in Minnesota. How are you doing today, Susan?
I'm great. Hope everybody's having a good afternoon.
Yeah, and so you were kind of looking around on the Secretary of State's website, and you found some interesting things out there, and so you wanted to have me help guide the users to some of the findings that you've discovered out there, and I think we should get into that. So I'm going to use our wonderful world of technology with Wirecast here, and we are going to do a Google search so that the users can actually take a look out there and maybe see some of the same things that we're seeing, but if the Secretary of State updates it, maybe they'll catch some other things that we've missed as well. So you'll notice in the lower right hand corner that the date of my computer here is 11/9/2021. Minnesota just had an election last Tuesday, and so it's been nearly close to 7 days since the last election. And the polls closed at 8 o'clock, and so that's kind of an interesting piece. So the first thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and open up my search engine here, and I'm just going to type in MN SOS Elections, and you'll see that we get the pop-up for election results. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that, and then I'm going to go ahead and select results down here, and that should immediately take me to the municipal and school district general election, Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. And if I scroll down, I'll get to this interesting little link down here where it has the statewide reporting statistics. So we'll go ahead and click on that link. And we see up here at the very top that it was last updated on 11/8/2021 at 11:32 a.m. So that's yesterday for all of us. And when we dive into Aitkin County here, and we click on that first little county link, um, I'm a little shocked. The first thing that we see up here, so Susan, when did the polls close in Minnesota last week?
8 p.m. on November 2nd.
So I'm looking at data on the website that shows that it was last updated on 11/1/2021 at 4:30 p.m. But luckily at this point, there's no votes here. But if I actually go in and just take a look at Independent School District number 1, Journey North, and I click on that link, I notice at the top up there, it also says last updated 11/1/2021. But now all of a sudden it shows that there's actually votes taking place. Does that seem abnormal to you?
It definitely should say that there are 0 votes if it was in fact last updated. Interestingly, it does say precincts reporting of selected precincts, 100% of 1 have reported, but there are in fact votes recorded, which means that it had to have been updated after 11/1, or these votes were put in prior to election day.
You're not suggesting that they're doing predictive voting, right?
I would certainly hope not.
We just hope it's a simple mistake on the top of the page, but it does lend credence to who is kind of controlling the wheel here. And then so the other piece that we'll look is just to make sure that this isn't just some kind of weird anomaly with the first one. I'm going to go ahead and click on ISD number 2, Hill City. And so when I backed out and then go back and click on this link, it also has the last updated of 11/1/2021, and there are also votes recorded there, and also 100% 1 of 1.
Which then does raise the question about whether or not only 44 people voted when it says there's voters registered 7 a.m. on election day, 974. So this would be a remarkably low voter turnout.
Yeah, it's looks like about a 5% voter turnout, so that's pretty poor. May not have been an exciting race. Um, let's see here. Then one of the other things that you and I were talking about too is when we kind of get back up to the top level here, and we look at Hennepin County, because we were kind of talking about, like, are people still voting in person or absentee? And so Hennepin County was kind of a good barometer of all those things. And so what we'll notice here is that signatures means that the person voted in person, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then mail-in absentee ballots, those are either rural mailed ballots or people that requested an absentee ballot, whether they showed up at the county office or if they had a special election day, Saturday before the election, or if they requested a mailed absentee ballot and then sent it back in, correct?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, so when we start kind of looking at Bloomington up here, we see that it looks like people are voting in person by significant margins, where we see it's kind of like a 2 to 1, 3 to 1, even higher margin of people choosing to vote in person versus absentee. So
Right.
it's
Well,
kind
and
of like, go ahead.
we also should just mention the column that says date time first reported, which shows when the precinct first began to report its results. So, for example, Bloomington W1P7, they first recorded results on 11/2 at 8:19 p.m., 19 minutes after polls closed. So that would also be in that previous county, Aitkin County. We didn't talk about that, but just for people to know,
Yeah.
if they try to kind of go through the data, you can see, for example, that there were votes being reported kind of rolling right away, and you can kind of see when different precincts started to report that data.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like for the most part, Hennepin County had a lot of them either at 819 or 827. Seems to be kind of a consistent push. And then one of the precincts that you brought to my attention is kind of a head shaker. As we sit here and we consistently look at Hennepin County, or even in Hopkins, even in some parts of Minneapolis, we see a large in-person turnout versus the absentee participation. And
Yep. That
so
was across the state. I think we saw definitely across the state a return to in-person voting almost everywhere.
yeah, and it's and that is a beautiful thing when we talk about the in-person voting. It's just that classic American where you're there with your neighbors and you're standing in line and you've got the young mom with her, little kids there that are kind of a little bit squirrely, but it's just that common peaceful place where we're all there. We may not agree on all the issues, but today we make some decisions about the future of our city, our county and state, and even our nation at times. So it's just, I don't know, I just kind of harken back to that. But wait a minute here. So this is the one that you were talking about earlier, Minneapolis West 6, Precinct 3. It's almost like they have the numbers reversed. 449 showed up to vote, but yet 1,182 voted absentee. That seems really odd. And
Well,
when you and I looked at this building, I'm familiar with it because I went to the University of Minnesota, and this is right off the West Bank, the Riverside Plaza with the. I'll let you describe it because everybody can see it from 35 and 94.
right. It's that very, very tall building. At one point, it was the tallest building not inside the city of Minneapolis, but it has those multicolored panels. There's pink and blue and green. So when you drive it, you kind of can't. In fact, it used to be called like the rainbow in the sky or something. That's how people knew that it was that building. You could find it just by that description of the panels and the colors.
I'll let people go to Wikipedia to see some of the other names. That's just a little a hint. Some of them aren't too kind, but it is interesting. However, that community is so close knit that that area is literally a precinct in itself, to where it's not like Greater Minnesota. You have to drive miles to go cast a ballot or even It's blocks. It's literally right there at the base of the building.
Like a courtyard. It's like
Mm-hmm.
in a building that's in the courtyard of these buildings.
So I just find it phenomenal that something so close has one of the highest absentee participation rates.
Right. It's very much an anomaly.
And when you think about with COVID and everything, a building with that many people in it, they've already shared everything across the board, anyways.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so and then you also pointed out another one here that you wanted to bring to our attention here as well. West 6, Precinct 5 of Minneapolis, also in smaller numbers, but just as bad, where there's 221 signatures and 371 absentee ballots. And so it just kind of opens the door for questioning what is happening in Minnesota elections, especially when the norm seems to be the other way, and these are definitely two outliers.
Well, there's three precincts in this ward that seem to flip the narrative of what happened in the election. One is almost an equal voter turnout, which even that didn't happen really anywhere in the state. So I think this is a ward that we need to be looking at. And I think just in terms of making sure that we be clear, Rick and I very much believe that election integrity is not about Republicans or Democrats. It's about all people in the state being able to vote their vote themselves without interference, without pressure from anybody. And when you have this many absentee ballots, particularly on the heels of the investigation that happened last year, where I think we had some legislators involved as well, that there was a lot of ballot harvesting and concerns that people weren't able to vote their ballots. And there's a lot of questions. So I just think that this is a really important issue that we need to look at and make sure, do everything we can to be educating people about their right to cast their own ballot, no matter what, without pressure.
And I think that's really important because this I would classify this community area as kind of new to the process, and they may not understand the rights and freedoms that they have and
Right.
how precious those votes are. And we really want them to express their views, and we want them to be able to have that election integrity and not steal that right and that precious thing that makes us Americans when we are able to vote. So,
Yeah, and I'd love for all of the children being raised in these communities that are new to America to see their parents going to vote, their older brothers and sisters, their relatives going and getting that silly "I voted" sticker that we all love to stick on and show our communities that we voted. That's a part of the process, and
yeah,
it's a great thing for everybody to see and experience, but particularly children who are being raised in our country. We want them to know that it matters. Voting matters.
yeah, and it's also integral to kind of the great hopeness in American politics is that you always have a chance to vote to be able to make the future of the country better. And I think that's just something that's beautiful and wonderful that we can't lose. I think you're exactly right.
I agree.
So, all right, well, so that's kind of our latest update that we wanted to put out there for people to kind of let you know that we're still watching the Minnesota elections. It never ceases to amaze me, some of the amazing little things that we find out there and have questions. And so, want to give special credit to the Secretary of State's office for providing this information for the taxpayers of Minnesota to be able to review and provide oversight and be able to ask questions of the Minnesota Secretary of State. So if you see anything out there, please send us an email at tips@midwestswampwatch.com. Otherwise, stay awesome, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.